Thank you for joining us tonight on the July 20th meeting of the City Council of Jacksonville Beach. Once again, I'm going to start with a statement. Governor DeSantis Executive Order number 20-150 extended the governor's authorization for local government bodies to continue to conduct meetings without an in-person quorum at any specific location and to hold the meetings using communications media technology, or CMT. On April 6, 2020, the City of Jacksonville Beach approved at their public meeting the use of CMT and alternate start times to conduct City Council meetings and briefings. Accordingly, this City Council meeting is being held in a manner using CMT. The Council, the staff, and the public are not physically present at City Hall tonight, or may not be, I should say, because we do have a couple that are in their office, I think. In a moment, the City Attorney will explain CMT procedures and adaptations for the public attendance and public comment that have been put in place. The City Council members and the City personnel are appearing through CMT. The meeting will be opened by an invocation by Councilman Vogelsang, and then the Pledge of Allegiance will follow. City Attorney, please state the CMT procedures and adaptations being utilized tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. The notice that was published by the city for this virtual meeting included descriptions and instructions for the public on how they can view, listen, access, and participate in this meeting. One of the ways was that the public can view and listen via live stream on the City of Jacksonville Beach's YouTube channel. The instructions were provided and the links were provided. They could also listen via phone. All the phone contact information was provided. Also, there was information provided for the hearing or speech impaired and the access numbers for those participants. Also, that public may submit questions and comments concerning any scheduled agenda item or for courtesy of the floor portion of the agenda by submitting the written comments to the clerk ahead of the meeting, and the address was provided also via email, US mail, and also by using the Dropbox at the main entrance of City Hall. And also that the public were invited to submit public comment submission forms on the City of Jacksonville Beach website. And the link and the information was also provided on how that can be done. Written comments will be read into the record at the appropriate time of the agenda item or at the courtesy of the floor section. All the written comments that are received will be distributed to the mayor and the city council and appropriate staff. Those that are received, those comments that are received will be limited to a 3-minute reading time. Members of the public were also advised that they can utilize Zoom technology, free. In advance, they must register and they use the site for free. And those speakers will be limited to 3 minutes speaking time as well. And the notice provided all the information on how to participate and utilize Zoom for this for this meeting, I'm sorry. And finally, we noticed the public that public comments for courtesy of the floor will remain, those comments will be accepted until 5 minutes before the mayor opens that portion of the meeting. So technically we can still be receiving courtesy of the floor comments at this time. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Mr. Vogelsang, the floor is yours, sir.
Please bless us tonight as we make decisions for the betterment of our community. Please be with our first responders as they work to protect us and keep us safe, and be with our military members serving here and abroad. It's in your name we pray, amen.
Amen. If you would please rise, face the nearest flag, and we'll do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. And Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Doherty. Councilmember DeMont.
Here.
Councilmember Golding.
Here.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Here.
Councilmember Nichols.
Here.
Councilmember Vogelsang.
Here.
Mayor Latham.
Here. And
Mayor, if I could interrupt you for 1 second, I forgot to mention on the record that the city council members should not be utilizing any additional electronic means of communication during the meeting in order to communicate about any of the agenda items or action items that come before the council. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay.
We're going to move with agenda item 2132.
I move that we approve the minutes of the council briefing held on June 8th, 2020.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion or debate by the council? Oh, I got to put my little hand screen up. Hold on. Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? By your action, motion carries. And 133, please.
I move that we approve the minutes of the regular council meeting held on June 15th, 2020.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any debate from the council? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? By your action, motion carries. And 134, please.
I move that we approve the minutes of the council briefing held on June 22nd, 2020.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any debate from the council? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? By your action, motion carries. Okay, announcements. I don't know who went up first. I'm going with Ms. Hoffman.
Oh, I think it was Ms. Golding, but I'm unmuted, so I'll go ahead and go. I just wanted to take a moment to congratulate our colleague, Mr. Nichols, who was just accepted into the upcoming Leadership Jacksonville class, which I think will be the class of 21. And just wanted to congratulate him. And for those of us who have gone through this program, we know how much that experience is going to benefit his service to our city. So enjoy it, Corey.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. And Ms. Golding.
Congratulations, Corey. I just wanted to make a couple of announcements. I think everybody is aware that the lighted pedestrian crosswalk on Penman Road at 4th Avenue North is now operational. And a lot of people have been using it. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about it, which is great. So I definitely want to make sure that I extend a very huge thank you to Bill Gulliford for, before he stepped off city council, he did some things to pave the road for those getting done. And then also Councilman Rory Diamond, I want to thank him for what he's done to help make sure that these were getting done. And then also wanted to let everybody know that Mayor Curry has put $500,000 in the 2021 budget for Penman Road Complete Streets, for that Complete Streets project, which is part of what is, there's a RFP that is in the process of the consultants and going to be approved soon, hopefully. And they'll be doing a study to identify improvements that can be made to Penman Road to make it more pedestrian and bicycle friendly. And so I would just urge any of my fellow council members who have contacts with the city of Jacksonville city council members to please make sure you reach out to them, let them know that you ask them to support the $500,000 for the Penman Road Complete Streets in this budget, because we definitely don't want to see it get removed from the budget, so that we can continue, we can make sure that the changes that are needed for Penman Road are moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Okay, you can go ahead and lower your hand, Ms. Golding, and we'll move on to courtesy of the floor. Jacob, do we have some members of courtesy to the floor?
Yes, we do. One second. We have Ty Gordon. Ty, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Showtime?
It's showtime, Ty. Welcome.
All right. This is Ty, I think Jacob's putting a picture up for me that'll maybe help with this, but this is Ty Gordon at 2040 Waterway Island Lane. And this is about, I've spoken to Sandy a few times about this, and Sandy, thank you for your communication with me. And I've spoken with Mike one time. This is not about the gate, so don't worry. It's actually about the pending passage beside the gate, the pedestrian passage. Now, I know we're not getting any sort of a golf cart passage. I realize we have to absolutely prohibit golf carts from getting through there. Does not, I'm totally on board with that. We turn the page. I understand that. But is the picture up? Can a lady with her 2 kids on the bicycle, anybody see it?
While Jacob's putting that up for you.
Okay, so here we go. Yeah.
I just started to interrupt you. I want to remind you that you're going to have 3 minutes, and I'm going to start the clock now.
Yeah,
okay?
Go ahead. Feel free.
Thank you.
I'm working off a Post-it note, so it shouldn't be long. So this type of thing right here, if the passage is reconstructed as it was before, as it looks like it's going to be now with a series of 90-degree turns, something like this is the kind of things that we're absolutely prohibiting from getting through. Not only you can't even get off this bike, this sort of thing, and get through the passage in this sort of thing. And I had a personal experience with my wife, with our infant in a bike trailer behind her, our son on a bike seat on my bike. We couldn't get through the passage without 2 people. So bikes don't have kickstands these days. So I had to lean my son up against the gate in a bike seat just to get my wife through with the bike trailer. And it's a 2-person job. And while we were doing that, my son started squirming and slammed to the ground. Thank goodness he had a helmet on, but banged his head off the street. I don't, as long as we're going to be a beach community, a surfing community, a fishing community, we need that passage needs to be able to accommodate surfboards, fishing poles, things like you see in this picture, bike trailers, in order for it to be safe for everyone and family friendly. I'm not asking for something wide enough for a golf cart. I understand we have to stop that, but I just feel like an absolute requirement of a passage there for the families around that area should be able to, for things like you're looking at, it should not be a hindrance to them visiting friends 2 blocks away that they'd otherwise have to go, drive around 2 miles, 2.5 miles, whatever we decided the math was there. So I'm just imploring you all that it's totally possible. I've asked for plans from Public Works. Apparently there aren't any. There are no considerations written considerations that they've considered for this, which would be nice. How do we know we're being listened to if there's no evidence of any planning or forethought with this passage? So I feel like it's possible to have something there that can accommodate things like this and bike trailers without people putting their children at risk or even turning around and going somewhere else. And I'm once again asking you guys to be creative and let's do this. Let's get something positive done for the whole community. And I think that's about it for me. So yeah, thank y'all for your time. That's really all I have to say. I hope that it'll be changed and altered in a way that can be good for everybody around and still maintain the safety that you guys want. Thank you.
Thank you, Ty. Appreciate it. Jacob, was there anybody else?
Not from me, no.
Okay. Madam Clerk, did you have any letters you wanted to read?
All that for no. Why I'm none. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. You are going to be, I'm going to ask you to read these proclamations so you have them in front of you.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
So we're moving on past courtesy of the floor to the proclamations. First one is July is Parks and Recreation Month. Madam Clerk, could you please read the proclamation?
Sure. Whereas the City of Jacksonville Beach Parks and Recreation facilities and programs are an integral part of the community. They foster and enhance health and well-being of residents of all ages. And whereas the city's parks and recreation facilities and programs provide a better quality of life for citizens, providing enriching experiences for families and groups, provide economic opportunities for the community, and preserve and enhance the natural environment in our region. And whereas the city offers a variety of parks and recreation opportunities designed for all ages and interests, including popular recreation and athletic programs such as adult football, flag football, youth baseball, Pop Warner football, girls softball and cheerleading, special community events such as Deck the Chairs, beach events, senior and youth activities at Carver Center, nature exploration at Cradle Creek Preserve, tennis at Huguenot Park, golf at Jacksonville Beach Golf Club, the Paws Park Dog Park, many interactive playgrounds, and outstanding skateboarding, basketball, volleyball, and tennis facilities at South Beach Park. And whereas the city's parks and recreation programs increase economic prosperity and property values, expand the local tax base, increase tourism, attract and retain businesses, and foster cooperative commercial relationships through its athletic leagues and events. And whereas the city's parks and nature recreation areas such as Huguenot Park, 12th Avenue South, Cradle Creek Preserve, and the Jacksonville Beach Golf Course improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve air quality, provide vegetative buffers to development, conserve natural wildlife habitats, and preserve open spaces. And whereas the city's parks and nature recreation areas such as Cradle Creek Preserve, Tall Pines Park, Gonzales Park, Oceanfront Park, and Latham Plaza and Seawalk Pavilion ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and experience the outdoors in safe and clean environments. And whereas the United States House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and the city of Jacksonville Beach recognized the many essential benefits derived from the city's parks and recreation resources. Now therefore, Mayor William C. Latham, Mayor of the City of Jacksonville Beach, by virtue of the authority vested in him, does hereby proclaim July 2020 as Parks and Recreation Month.
Thank you, ma'am. And Jason, I'm sure I speak on behalf of the whole council when I say that we don't want this to be some kind of rubber stamp thank you for what you've done. This should be celebrated. You guys have done just a tremendous job, and with your leadership over the last couple of years, all the amazing accomplishments that we've been able to do as a city. Your signature is on all these improvements in our parks and recreations that mean so much to not always just our citizens, but visitors as well. My hat's off to you personally. I think you're doing just a tremendous job, but I also know that you've got a wonderful staff that does a lot to help you as well. So please pass along our heartfelt thanks to all your employees and all your team with Parks and Recreation. We're very, very happy with what you're doing.
Thank you, Mayor. Certainly a pleasure to pass it on to the staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, we've got another proclamation, and this was submitted by Bill. Bill, do you want to say a couple of words before is Bill still here?
Yes, Mayor, I am still here. I appreciate that opportunity too. Carol Westmoreland has been the executive director of the Florida Redevelopment Association for, I believe, over 30 years. And she's just been a phenomenal figurehead for that organization. And that organization has helped our CRA and CRAs throughout the state, especially in light of the recent Florida legislative kind of attacks on the CRAs. She's been very, very forthright in her defense of CRA. So I think this is a well-deserved reward for her. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. Okay, Madam Clerk, floor is yours.
Whereas redevelopment is an essential component of any local government's planning program and is a foundation for the quality of life across Florida, both for its economic partnerships to revitalize an area, its beautification efforts, its upgrading its infrastructure, and overall improvement to the natural aging of Florida's assets. And whereas the statewide organization known as the Florida Redevelopment Association is well known for its efforts to coordinate and share best practices and to improve the functioning of redevelopment agencies throughout the Sunshine State. And whereas the Florida Redevelopment Association has been blessed to have Carol Marshner Westmoreland serve as an executive director since January of 1988, and her 3 decades of leadership, representation, advocacy, and service have been I'll never say this word, exemplary. And whereas Carol's reputation as FRA's chief advocate for the Florida legislature is legendary, and is her unfailing support for all aspects of the administrative, political, intergovernmental, and professional needs of the many districts and agencies tied to county municipal redevelopment in the state, and her energies, devotion, creativity, inspiration, and enthusiasm will not easily be duplicated. And Carol will genuinely and sorely be missed. And whereas Carol announced her retirement to be effective on June 30th, 2020, and this is a worthy cause for heartfelt recognition and sincere celebration. And as Carol is wished the very best in this new chapter of her life, now therefore I, William C. Lay, the mayor of the city of Jacksonville Beach, by virtue of the authority vested in him, does hereby proclaim October 15th, 2020 as Carol Westmoreland Day.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Appreciate it. Okay, moving forward on the agenda, 2137. I'm going to take a motion and then we'll get into staff presentation.
I move that we accept the monthly financial reports for the month of June 2020.
Second.
Motion and a second. Mr. Stefopoulos, do you want to just introduce Ashley, or do you have anything to say?
Just that as you're starting to see in the reports, the impacts of state revenue collection and the disbursement to local municipalities is now starting to be felt with regards to revenue streams coming into us. As always, Ashley is here to answer any questions you might have. I know there was a question posed earlier today by Councilmember Dumont, and you should have all received an email with a chart showing some additional information.
Okay, any comments or questions or debate for Ashley? We don't want to debate Ashley, but any questions for Ashley? Okay, Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Dumont,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Nichols,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogelsang,
Yes.
Mayor Latham.
Yes. And city staff, are you prepared to discuss item 138?
Yes, at the last council briefing, we talked about the fact that the city was trying to find an outside third-party firm to perform an assessment for us on the city's ERP project. And the reason being is we're starting to hit some roadblocks in the process of implementation. And we wanted to get a fair assessment of whether the issues lie with us, lie with the firm that we bought the software from, or with the software itself. After doing some research, we did find that we could use a contract to procure the services of Gartner, which is a national, if not international, third-party independent technology firm. And we are proposing to use them to help do an assessment of where we are in the process and provide us with guidance and recommendations of how to move forward. We do have funding available to pay for this particular service at this time. We feel it's a prudent juncture to do so at this time based on the fact that we still have over $800,000 unexpended on the existing contract with Tyler. With that being said, we do have CFO Gossett and the budget manager on the line if you have any questions.
Thank you, sir. Let's go ahead and take the motion and then we'll go to questions and debate.
I move that we approve the external assessment of our ERP project by Gartner Inc. at a cost of $135,800, utilizing the state of Texas contract number DIR-TSO-4030.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Time for debate, and it looks like Ms. Dumont's up for. Yep.
Thank you. I have a couple questions. One, the dates in the contract have passed already. So I don't know if you have an updated contract with the same amount of money, because that's really what the focus is here. But the period of performance would be through July 3rd. The same on in section 4-6.1, the validity period. It's from 30 days from May 26, 2020. So we're past that 30 days. Are we still able to get this contract for 135, or do we have to go through the whole process again? So that's the first question. I don't know if you want to take that and then go to the second.
Okay.
AJ, I'll let you answer that.
Hello, can y'all hear me?
I can. Hi, AJ.
How you doing, Doc?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. If I understood your question correctly, and just to be very direct in answering it, yeah, the price that we got from Gartner was firm. That contract that we're piggybacking off of Texas DIR is still valid with Gartner. I can research that period that you mentioned in your comment there, but from a contractual perspective, everything's on the up and up with Texas DIR and Gartner, so we're confident we fall within the appropriate parameters to piggyback this as well.
Okay, so it's section 461 for the validity period, and the one prior to that is 4.3, the period of performance. Those would just have to be updated.
Okay.
And my second, thank you. And my second question, if the findings from Gartner are that the issue lies with Tyler or the software and it's not on Jacksonville Beach, do we have any kind of an avenue to try and gain back some of the financial expenditures that we spent on this? We spent a lot of money on this, and it was supposed to be working a couple of years ago. And I'd like to see some kind of like a clawback kind of a thing with the city, if possible. I don't know how that contract went. I should know that. I don't know if we have that opportunity. So I don't know who that question would be for, if it would be for AJ or Chris.
Council member or Mike, actually, who do you want to take this?
You meant Mike, not Mike as in microphone.
Right.
Okay.
Actually, I'll let Chris chime in if he wants to add anything to what I'm about to say.
Okay.
That the purpose in having the third party external audit is to determine if there are issues and where those issues may lie. And obviously, if there are any issues that lie on Tyler and or their product, then those are issues that we want to address with them. I don't know how far I want to get into with regards to what the contract says, which versus what might be able to be negotiated based on the findings. And I think I'll just leave it at that unless Chris wants to add anything additional.
Right. I don't want to speak too much right here in the public forum about clawing back or potential contractual remedies that we have, Councilwoman. I would rather not say that right here, but the contract that we have with them is very extensive, and I would have to read that in detail to find which provisions are there for us to act on.
Okay, so it is an avenue that we would look at if needed, but we won't know that until we get the results from Gartner.
That's right.
I just wanted to make sure that we're keeping all of our options open when we find out why this isn't already up and running and where the issues have fallen. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. And we have discussed amongst the directors, we have Ms. Gossett and Mike, we've discussed contractual remedies. So it's on our plate.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't see any other hands up. Is there anybody else that has anything to add or any questions? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
I'm sorry, yes.
Councilmember Nichols,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogelsang,
Yes.
Councilmember Demont,
Yes.
Mayor Latham.
Yes. And Mr. Stephanopoulos, are you prepared to address 139?
Yes, I am. This next item is with regard to additional funding for dial-a-ride vehicle repairs. This year in particular, there are additional costs that are coming in associated with their vehicles. As the council is likely aware, there is currently a line item within the legislative budget for providing services to dial-a-ride for their vehicles. While the dollar threshold on this particular item is something that could be done administratively by me, given the fact that the funding sits within the legislative budget portion of the budget document, I felt it was prudent to bring it forth in front of this body for a determination of whether or not you wanted to spend up to an additional $3,000 to assist dial-a-ride on vehicle repairs. We do have the funding available to do so. But again, I view anything that's in the legislative budget as being your funds to expend, not necessarily mine. So I wanted to get your input on this particular item.
Thank you, sir. And let's go ahead and take the motion before we open the floor.
I move that we approve additional funding in the amount of $3,000.
Did anybody else freeze up, or am I just me?
It froze up, Mayor. If Ms. Hoffman could read that again.
Oh, okay. Move that we approve additional funding in the amount of $3,000 for dial-a-ride vehicle repairs and maintenance.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion from the council? I have a question for the city attorney. My wife has been on the board of the Beach Council on Aging for 8 years. She's never been a paid employee. She's just a volunteer and has been. Is there a conflict for me on this, in your opinion?
No, sir. In my opinion, no, you won't have a conflict in that. There's no private gain for her. She's unpaid, correct?
That's correct. Okay, thank you. I got a hand up from Mr. Vogelsang. Yep, now down.
I'm all for the motion. I just want to make sure that the money could only be spent on mechanical repair, and if it's not used, it comes back to us. Is that the way I'm reading it?
I'll let Ashley respond to that, but that's my understanding.
Mine too.
Yes, sir, that's correct. It's funds available through our city garage only. There's no cash. This is just services we would provide, and any remaining funds at the end of the year would go back to the general fund reserve.
Okay, and the only other thing that I had emailed Lori privately on just to share was I questioned how much is Jack's Beach residents versus everybody else utilizing it, and she conveyed to me, I think 59% of the riders were from Jacksonville Beach. So my only thought was in sharing the cost down the road, I don't want to be the only people that contribute. As from a city perspective, I think Atlantic Beach gave $2,000 in 2019, but none of the other Ponte Vedra or St. Johns County or Neptune Beach, she wasn't aware of any monetary donations. So I think if we're given $6,000, I feel like the other beaches, cities who are, especially Atlantic Beach, is getting, I think, over 20% of the services, just making sure that they're not paying their fair share, but at least contributing toward an organization that is titled Beaches Dial-a-Ride. And I know Lori's going to work hard to change that. She just started getting into the books. So she wasn't able to give me too much information, but I know she understands based on our discussions where I was coming from. But I just want to share what she had told me with my colleagues.
Phil, before I recognize the other questions, I'm just going to tell you that I asked the same question of my wife, and the information I got from her was 75% was Jack's Beach. And the Atlantic and Neptune Beach were in the 25% area. I've talked to both other mayors, and we've had, I'm not going to mention any names, but mayors show up at ribbon cuttings and festivities to celebrate the money going into Dial-a-Ride, and they hadn't put a dime in there. And I asked them about it, called them out about it. And this is one of those things where you're 100% correct. This is the Beaches Dial-a-Ride. It's not Jack's Beach Dial-a-Ride. And we've gotten a lot of support from the city with a office at the Benny Furlong Senior Center. And the city has done some in-kind service with the mechanical repairs and such. The other cities need to step up, and I'll continue to put pressure on them. And I know Lori will. We all know Lori, and we all know that she's kind of like a little bulldog sometimes when it comes to things like that. So, Ms. Dumont.
I don't know how you follow that up. Yeah, and I am looking very forward to the future of Beaches Dial-a-Ride, which is really the Beaches Council on Aging. So I think the first part is we should call it the Beaches Council on Aging, and one of their programs is helping our seniors get to grocery markets and doctor's appointments and to places that they need to be. And yes, it is the full beaches, and so I am confident that Lori will be knocking on the city hall doors of the other cities. And I just want to make sure that we're very clear that this is not money that we're giving them; it's in-kind services to make sure that the buses keep their upkeep. Right now, they're going through kind of a unique situation where they're only able to have one senior in a bus at a time, and one of the 3 buses doesn't have AC. I think this would really help them go a long way with helping to achieve their mission. And Lori is, I think the mayor says, a bulldog. And yeah, she will, I am confident that she's going to get this organization the prominence that it needs. And with that prominence will come a lot more revenue streams and support from all of the beaches community. So I fully support this.
Thank you. Ms. Golden.
I just want to say this is a great organization. My neighbor across the street used Beaches Dollar Ride and it was a great service for her. I echo what some of the other council members have said as far as the funding goes from the other communities. Just to share, because Lori shared it with all of the council members, but the numbers are 59% of the riders are from Jax Beach, 24% are from Atlantic Beach, 9% are from Neptune Beach, and 8% are from Ponte Vedra Beach. So I hope, and I just want to say publicly that I hope that our neighbors who are using this service will appreciate it and contribute accordingly.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Hoffman.
I just wanted to join in. I have a feeling Lori is furiously taking notes right now, but probably also not surprised. The consistency of what we're saying in terms of making sure to tap into the other beaches as well. And since she is on the call, and I do agree also with Ms. Dumont with regards to the Council on Aging, this is a program within a larger organization, and I'm sure she'll be able to head that in that direction. But congratulations, Lori. I'm glad you are not gone from our nonprofit community here in Jacksonville Beach, and I know you're going to accomplish great things. And we're sounds like we're all very happy to have your back.
Thank you, ma'am. And I'm just going to throw one tidbit in there as well. In our first year as council, the 4 of us, you guys probably remember we had a emergent fundraiser at Lynch's, and they're getting ready to shut down Dial Ride unless we can come up with $5,000. And over the last 8 years, they've gone from 1 bus to 3. They've done some really good, intelligent financial management to build a solvent company that's done some really good things and survived in the community. So I want to thank all the members of the Beaches Council on Aging that volunteer their time. Nobody's ever gotten a dime from the board. The executive directors are paid employees. And Lori will be the 2nd executive director. And the first was Gary Tiller from retired pastor from Beaches Church, who did a great job. But they've come a really long way, and I'm proud of the city of Jacksonville Beach standing up and helping them to continue to go in the right direction. And we all know Lori from the Mission House, and I'm a big fan, and I'm really excited to see what she's going to do. So thanks very much. And Sandy, did you have something else to add, or is your hand just waving? It's gone. Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Nichols,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogelsang,
Yes.
Councilmember Demont,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Mayor Latham.
Yes. Mr. Stefopoulos, are you prepared to address 140?
Yes, this next item is with relationship to the downtown camera system that the police department uses for security purposes. Over the past several months, with different gatherings that have occurred in the downtown, the chief has noticed some deficiencies and has developed a plan and strategy to address them and correct them. With that, I'll turn it over to Chief Smith to talk a little bit about.
Good evening, Council. I assume Jacob's pulling my video up, but I'll go ahead and get started. Stand by. Let me start my video. All right. Hello, Council. Just some background. We put in this new system in 2017. It's pretty state of the art. Almost immediately, we noticed that when it's very crowded downtown and there's a lot of cell phones, that our pictures and our camera system really slowed down. And that was a manifestation of the extra cell phones downtown competing for space on the network with our camera system. We have some 40 cameras downtown where everything's broadcast. So after I took office last year, we began to work on a project to increase the speed or the pipe dimension, if I could dumb it down like it had to be dumbed down for me. Basically, we got a lot of information going to a pipe that's too thin. And when there's a lot of volume being pushed through there, it slows down everything in the camera system. Interestingly enough, on July 4th and other areas, other dates, it's hard to get out cell phone coverage when you're down there. And our computer system with our remote computers in our cars don't work very well, just because of the volume of people that's down there. So of course, we need the camera system most when it's the most crowded. So last year around September, we started to work on some solutions. They were supposed to go in effect in January. Then of course, everything was put on hold for COVID. So basically we have all the cameras being beamed to the antenna on top of Pablo Towers. There's only one. What we're asking with this iteration to do is add a second antenna to City Hall on top of it. We're going to have to realign some cameras. So now basically we're going to split cameras going to 2 locations through 2 separate pipes to increase the volume to let the digital images flow through those cameras, through those pipes. So this $36,000 will take care of the hardware, the mount on top of City Hall to give us a second antenna for the cameras. Now, also, as you're aware, you've approved some fiber optic work done for Margaritaville. That will also encompass our third antenna. So we're splitting 40 cameras between 3 antennas, which will further increase the speed and allow us to exploit all the capabilities of the camera system, which is not doing it now. Eventually, that'll allow us to add more cameras down there, which we need. And also somewhere down the road, a license plate reader system, which we're currently still working on trying to get funding for. So the $36,000 will pay for the hardware. Also, an additional $11,000 will pay for a monitoring service, about $3,000 per year, a little over that, to total $11,000 for 3 years, to allow, like currently right now, no one is looking at our camera system from the command post. This monitoring system will allow the company to fine-tune cameras. If y'all remember, some of y'all do, on a dial radio, the old ones like in your cars when you were young, you'd leave it on a radio station and occasionally you'd have to tune it, fine tune it. That's what this monitoring does. It fine tunes the cameras when no one's watching. It also allows us to, when we turn it on July 3rd, to not be surprised and there's 3 cameras down. It will automatically tell us through notification. If a camera goes down right now, it'll notify us the camera's down, something needs to be done. So those 2 items together total $47,993, and that will be taken from the downtown tax increment funding fund, the 181 fund, and that'll be phase 2. Just a reminder to council, I'm not going to go into too much detail. We have a history here, and I'm just as guilty of putting in a piece of equipment like our prior camera system before this one, and just forgetting about it, thinking it needs no upkeep, nothing rusts, there's no upgrade in software. This is now, the technology is so advanced that this is a thing now, and that the thing wording is the best phrase I can use. This will require constant upkeep, constant funding for software and hardware, and the cameras rust, the cameras need to be cleaned, and we have not necessarily done all that stuff in the past. So that's why you're seeing more and more items referenced to this camera system. It will be an ongoing thing for the rest of the time we have this. We can't just do 1 or 2 items and forget about it for 3 or 4 years. This is just like your regular IT upgrades, your cell phone upgrades, or any other piece of equipment needs consistent and constant maintenance. So there will be some more items coming for this in the future, in the near future, but we're getting a handle on it and getting total cost for you out the door for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years. So this won't be an emergency item. It'll be planned more in the future. So that's all I have. Are there any questions?
They'll come in a minute, Chief. Thank you. Let's go ahead and take the motion before we open the floor to debate.
I move that we approve an expenditure of $51,653, $47,993 quoted prices plus $3,660 contingency for the purchase of equipment and other services to enhance the operation of the downtown camera system as described in a June 28, 2020 memorandum from Chief Gene Paul N. Smith to City Manager Michael J. Staphopoulos.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. We got a few hands up, but Chief, I'm going to ask first. I've been in EOC a few times with you during different events, and there have been some not black holes, but areas where we couldn't get camera coverage. Are you looking, I mean, if we're going to groom this system, let's groom it. I mean, let's get rid of all the black holes and make sure we have good coverage. Have you had discussions with the city manager about round 2?
Yeah, yes, we have, and that'll be phase 3, I think, when Margaritaville opens. And that's the thing about the LPRs, the license plate readers and extra cameras. I have told the city manager, and he agrees, I refuse to put anything up to add on to the system till it's working properly as is. And I think the second antenna will get us most of the way there. And I think the third antenna will open things up so I can get some 3rd Street coverage from the event yesterday. There's still some holes, believe it or not, downtown on the boardwalk. I'd probably like to add 10 or 12 cameras, and that may be phase 3 or 4. So yes, we have had those discussions, but I'm just not going to add anything else to this, Mayor, until I get it working correctly. It's been a couple years and we really need to do this. Like I said, we started last year. It was supposed to go in January. So yes, we are working hard on that. And it just takes monumental effort on the part of us, purchasing, IT, finance, like everything else we do, it has a price. And it's not just a one-time price. It becomes a thing down the road that we have to manage. So yes, sir, we are looking at enhancing the coverage because as you've seen, Mayor, over the last 3 or 4 events, especially with the demonstrations, it has been invaluable to us. And we're trying to get this up before the RNC comes because we don't know what to expect. And that's the rush now. We're trying to get this up before August for the RNC.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Mr. Vogelsang?
Hey, Chief, how many in the few years we've had this system, how many serious crimes do you think that camera system has helped solve?
A couple. It's hard to say solved. We don't monitor it full time, so we can't, it's all after the fact unless it's a special event. I would say you can count them both on 2 hands. We had a sexual battery solved. We had a shooting helping solved, some major crimes, maybe 10. But once again, that has to do with the holes in the system. There's blind spots. There's a lot down there. We had a high profile sexual battery that definitely got solved because of it.
I remember those are the 2 specific ones that I remember. And I just think crimes like that, it's worth every penny to be able to have that resource, to be able to have that resource in what is obviously our most active crime area in the city. And to have that resource, I think we should have our full resources behind it and have it, like you said, beefed up to where it needs to be, because that's where our action is, especially for you guys. And as an additional resource, it'll be beneficial, especially if we can get it working meticulously. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sir, Ms. Dumont?
Thank you. First, nice analogies, Chief. You made me smile. Well done on your
Thank you.
description of all of the systems, especially the car radio. So this is not, these aren't questions, but these are just kind of expectations. I would be expecting, starting in this upcoming 21-22 budget, that we are starting to put away money every year for maintenance and the known cost of having to purchase more cameras in the future. Instead of having to just, all of a sudden we have this cost, put away a little bit every single year to build up that reserve. And then when that cost comes in, same thing like we do with police vehicles. So I'd be expecting that. And that would include the cameras and the license plate readers in the future. So that's some of what I'm expecting in the upcoming budget that we'll be checking out in a couple months. So thank you.
If I could add one thing, the CRA has been very supportive. The money's there. No excuses. It's on me. We got to do better at it. Just one small problem to make you aware of in the systematic nature of everything we do. There's always a story, and there's always other people involved. It's a major IT heavy lift, just for the cameras. And we have 4 or 5 IT people, and they're totally overwhelmed. So that's been part of it. But we are making a priority, and I think the city manager has a good plan going forward, and the CRA is very supportive for the funds. Most of the cameras are downtown. So yes, ma'am, we'll get that. We'll get on that immediately.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Just had a quick question. I've seen on some of the videos recently that when there's big crowds that they've been shooting airsoft guns at them to disable the cameras in other areas. Are ours susceptible to damage from damage in the same way? And if so, do we have any warranty on these cameras, or does insurance cover them?
We do have a service plan, but if it's due to demonstrations or them tearing it down, they're very visible and there is no protection for them. And yes, they'd be able to do that if that ever happens. I don't think, I'm not aware of anything that would insure us against Antifa coming in here in 2 months and knocking down the camera poles. No. And they're, part of it, Mr. Nichols, is they're to normal operations, they're a deterrent because you can see them, and part of that's being deterred. But if somebody really wants to get at those cameras, there's nothing to stop them except for boots on the ground if they really want to damage them. But yes, I'm aware of the damaged cameras.
And can we put is there any way that we could have some that are less visible, just to make sure we could keep them during any challenging times we might face?
Absolutely. Depending on locations, rooftops, absolutely. And that's part of our increasing presence on the cameras. They can go on city buildings that nobody has access to, absolutely. And all that's for the future. Ideally, you want almost every corner of the downtown area to be covered in camera systems. And y'all, part of this is there's no pan, tilt, or zoom. So whatever frame you see, you can actually highlight a small corner of it and blow it up almost indefinitely. But the problem is the quality of the picture right now. You can't do that because there's not enough pixels. There's not enough data transmission. So yes, all that is possible in the future.
Okay,
Great. Well, thank you. I appreciate all the effort.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Nichols,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogelsang,
Yes.
Councilmember Demott,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Mayor Latham.
Yes, and Mr. Stavropoulos, is staff prepared to address item 141?
Yes, these next 2 items are both related to the Public Works Department, and they are for continuing services within the department. The first one is related to wet well tank and pipe cleaning and television inspection, and I will turn it over to Public Works Director Barron.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
I'm clear, Dennis.
All right, perfect. We have two contracts before you tonight. Both of them, we really opened up the books to try to get some active participation in bidding. Both of the contracts, we requested bids by 25 different vendors. So this first pipe cleaning and TVing contract, something we definitely need within the city to be able to monitor our infrastructure. And so we kind of divided that out into four different parts of four different kinds of structure as to how we do different activities within the city. So that was taken into effect with the 6 bids that we were received. They computed all that back to come back with which one was our actually, it ended up being one contractor to be best for all 4 purposes. So what we're requesting is approval of the contract for UPT as the primary provider for this contract, with Enviro Waste as an alternate for the A and B part, which is Metro Router, who does work for us all the time anyway, and Florida Pipe as an alternate for parts C and D as that contract. So this is something we definitely need within the city. It's kind of been a hole that we've had. We've been lucky to be able to use some continuing contracts to keep things moving until we can get this into place.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Let's go ahead and take a motion so that we can open the floor.
I move that we approve bid number 1920-06 wet well tank and pipe cleaning and TV inspection services to UPT Inc. primary for parts A, B, C, and D, and to Enviro Waste Services Group Inc. alternate for parts A and B, Wind River Environmental doing business as Metro Router alternate, and Florida Pipe Tech Inc. alternate for parts C and D for a period of 5 years.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion from the council? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Vogelsang,
Yes.
Councilmember Demont,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Nichols,
Yes.
Mayor Latham.
Yes. And Dennis, do you want to go over 142?
Yes, Mayor. Similar concept here. This is for a concrete maintenance and construction contractor. From what I understand, previously coming to the city, there was an existing concrete contractor that went out of business due to their pricing. They were extremely good prices for us. However, they couldn't continue to do the work for us at the prices they quoted. So we kind of got stuck without a concrete contractor. So we've kind of been limping along. We've got places, especially throughout the CRA, that's waiting to get some concrete, whether it's sidewalks or curb work or some other work to be completed. We're really behind in getting this. It's just taken quite a long time to get us to this point of a contract. Again, we requested 25 different vendors to bid. We only had 2 that responded. So both of those were ran through our normal purchasing process. A shout out, of course, to Lewis and the purchasing department for doing all the work on both of these contracts and helping us to get through all these, as well as the engineering department. But of course, based on experience and proximity, location, you know, the AWA contracting has the one that won out on this contract, and we're eager to get them going. We've got a long list of stuff to get going.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and thank you, sir. Let's go ahead and take the motion so we can open the floor.
I move that we approve the request for proposal number 01-1920 titled Concrete Maintenance, Installation, and Repairs, Continuous Services for 36 months to the highest ranking respondent, AWA Contracting Company, Inc., and authorize the city manager to extend the contract from 1 year through 3 years length each for a total contract length not to exceed 6 years.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Floor is open for any debate. Ms. Golden.
Thank you, Mayor. Dennis, I had a question for you. I was looking at the proposal tabulation sheets, and I know you've got one for like 2018, 19, and 2020. And they all have line items numbered 14 and 15 that say installation of new 3,000 PSI concrete sidewalk 4-inch thick with fiber mesh. Both of them have the same say the same thing. And so I guess I was just curious, what's the difference between the two? Because there's obviously a difference. There's a different price, but for 14 versus 15, but the description is the same.
Hold on, I'm gonna try to zip over there and take a look at exactly where you are talking about.
It's
here.
on any of the tabulation sheets because they all have the same thing. But if you look at the 2021, for example, line numbers 14 and 15.
Okay. I guess I don't know that I have an answer for you for that one.
Because I can see all the other line items definitely have something that's different about them, but those two were the same on all three sheets. So I wasn't sure what actually caused there to be a difference in pricing.
So are 22 and 23. No, sorry, one's at 6, one's at 8.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know that I'd have to go back to the actual contract bidding documents to determine exactly everything that's in there. I don't have those in front of me. I'm going to throw a guess out there that it might be due to a quantity, as a larger quantity would generate a lower price depending on, like, if it exceeds 5,000 square foot, you know, that might be one price, where if it's under that, it would be the other price. But I would just be speculating based on those. If those both look the same and they both have different numbers on them, there's got to be a difference, but it's probably deep into the bidding documents that I don't have in front of me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Golding. Mr. Nichols, you had a hand up. You don't have a question?
I'm good at this point. I'll talk to him offline.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any last minute questions? Then in that case, Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Demont,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Nichols,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogelsang,
Yes.
Mayor Latham.
Yes, and before we adjourn, City Manager, City Attorney, do you have anything you need to address tonight?
Nothing from me. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Mayor and Council, I just wanted to let you know that the issue of the Lakeside Gate that we heard about a little bit earlier tonight from Mr. Gordon with regards to the pass-through. There are some issues out there with regards to just providing a straight shot through the opening. For those of you who may remember what the previous configuration looked like, there were two 90 degrees and a very narrow opening within which to get through either a person or their bicycle or whatever else they were carrying with them. I've been working with the Public Works Department to try and come up with a better solution for people to get through there. But there's still a safety concern that if you have a straight shot going from south to north, then that means people riding their bicycles can go straight out from Lakeside into the Seagate Avenue corridor, where there's a potential for cross traffic and ultimately being hit by a vehicle. So the configuration we're currently looking at is 190-degree turn. A 90-degree turn should facilitate people slowing down and more than likely actually stopping and walking their bicycle through, rather than coming through at 10 or 15 miles an hour unchecked into the Seagate Avenue corridor. The nice part about the opening is that we do have the ability to go back and make modifications relatively easily. So we do have a design we're moving forward with. And if we find after a couple of months that we need to make some adjustments to it, we will do so accordingly.
Okay. And can you reach out to Ty, our speaker today, and get him updated on that as well?
I see that he's, well, I had spoken to him the other day, and my understanding is he's had further communication with Councilmember Golding. So she and I will connect since that's in her district and
Okay.
to work on this issue.
Great, thank you. Dennis, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes, I wanted to add that I got an update, was able to look back thanks to Ashley helping me along there, that the second line of both of those contracts had to do with adding an additional 6-inch turn down where the actual concrete met the pavement. So that's why there's a different line. It was actually some extra words that weren't included in that description boxes for both of those lines.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dennis.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is adjourned. Hope you have a nice night. We'll see you soon.